Alright, we're in the humid, mosquito-infested woods on the shores of Lake Monroe. And I'm looking at a tree here, perfectly adapted to growing in these wetlands. American Elm, Ulmus americana. One of the characteristics of this tree is these really buttressed roots that basically make this tree grow very straight and very sturdy. Very hardy tree. Can withstand low temperatures down to negative 44 degrees. Trees can live for several hundred years. Also known as white elm or water elm, ranges from Nova Scotia to Alberta, Montana, south to Texas, east to Florida. I have not seen this tree very far south of central Florida. I've only seen it here in central Florida. The trunk diameter of this tree can reach 4 feet. Here's a little better example of how these tree roots become buttressed and make it really sturdy. Also, often when you're looking in the woods, you see these roots growing along the ground. Probably helps to stabilize the tree in flooded conditions, and also provides some oxygenation. Seems most of the roots are kind of close to the surface. You can see the bark is kind of flat and scaly. Lots of lichens growing on it. Trees are quite common around Lake Monroe, not so common elsewhere. They like to be in flooded areas. This area was flooded 4 or 5 feet over the roots of this tree for about 3 months, and the tree is fine. So the habitat for the American elm is rich bottomland, floodplains, stream banks, and swampy ground. The seeds are wind dispersed, they're samaras, they fruits in the late spring. Seeds need no stratification, which means that they don't need any cold or wet period. They will germinate immediately after falling off the tree. It's a larval food plant for several species of butterflies and moths, including the eastern comma, question mark, and painted lady butterflies. This tree is fairly common all along the east of the Mississippi at one time, and it was planted around the turn of the century along roads because it produces such a nice straight tree with a nice stately trunk and usually grows straight up. That led to the establishment of Dutch elm disease, which wiped out most of the American elms in the country. However, in places like this in Florida where they weren't widely planted, the trees have coexisted in the woods here. Pests include the elm leaf beetle and Japanese beetle. This is a rapid growing tree. Once a common street tree, but a little more. Now they have hybrids and different types of elms that are more resistant to these infestations causing Dutch elm disease. See the leaves of the American elm. They're simple double-toothed leaves, and they kind of have like an alternate arrangement. You can see there's alternate. The leaves are rough when you feel them. Chinese elm are smooth. And those are also planted around here. There's also a winged elm that grows around here. And there's a slippery elm, which I have not seen yet. It's American elm, Ulmus americana. There's some very impressive buttressing on these American elms. So here along the shore of Lake Monroe, the American elm grows with several other wetland species. It grows with the sweet gum, red maple, water oak, live oak, sugar hackberry, cypress, sable palm. This is like the Blackwater River ecosystem here. You can see a sweet gum tree here. It's growing an American elm, small one here. And these trees do pretty good growing up in the shade. Fast-growing trees. We have some back at the nursery. Show you how we grow them. Big mama American elm tree here. You can see these extensive roots buttressing. Really quite a very large tree here. Ulmus americana. Look at those roots. Bark on this tree is flaky and kind of furrowed. Very strong wood. See some poison ivy growing on there. Roots. You can practically identify this tree just by the buttressing of the roots. And you cut one down, it will resprout. You can see this alternating leaf arrangement. This is the leaf formation. That is coppice. You cut the tree down and it sprouts from the roots, the trunk, leftover trunk. Yeah, so you can see here my wetland trees that I dug up, and they were small seedlings. All these were about this big when I dug them up, and they've been growing here for about a month now. And I always like to keep my wetland trees in standing water whenever possible. It keeps them from drying out, and I think it accelerates their growth. And you can see here, I have a small American elm. Try to keep this on a flooded tray. Here's some red maples, some cypress. There's a potted American elm. And, it'll go from a little seedling like that to a tree about this size in about 2 years. You can see the simple leaves. Toothed, rough, short skin. American Elm, Ulmus americana.